Tell us about Nellis. Wasn't he? He was up there with you at Mitchell.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. We were getting ready to go overseas, and they had already put quite a few of our airplanes on the boat to go to England. And something happened that they were having trouble with the main bearing that carries all the rods and pistons and so forth. And we had stopped flying, and we were pretty well restricted to the base. And we usually had to stand alert. And alert went usually from daylight till about 1 o'clock. So Nellis and I we had a scheme worked out pretty well. We'd get on an early flight. We had to fly 4.5 hours every day, which meant 3 flights. So we were there when the ops officer came in. We were there in our flying suits, bushy-tailed and ready to go. And we'd be off on the first flights. And by about 12:30 or so, we would have finished our 4.5 hours. And we'd go change into our first class uniform and take off for New York City. And we'd catch the electric train back, the last one, and we'd be in the ops office there on the flight line when the ops officer came in. He's ready to make the first flight. 2 of us were. So that meant we'd be finished already, we could do it again. And that worked out pretty well.
What happened to Nellis?
We were in there. I'd come back from New York early in the morning. And we had gone to bed and got pretty good night's sleep. When the ops officer came down there, he said, well, we need to have 2 aircraft test flown for 50 minutes at military power, one at 25,000, one at 35,000. And I looked at Nellis. So, we will. And I said, you take the 25,000 and I'll take the 35. So we took off, and I think we were about 5 minutes from finishing the time that we had to run them at military power. And I heard this call, Mayday, Mayday, Mayday. This is Lieutenant Nellis. I'm over Hempstead at Angels 25, and my ship's on fire. And he said, I'm going to fly down to the South Beach far enough that I'll know that the airplane's going to crash in the ocean. And I'm going to bail out so that I'll land on the land there. What he didn't know was that there was a strong offshore breeze, and he bailed out, but the wind blew him out into the Atlantic, and it was colder than hell. It was 7 degrees on the ground, and of course at 35,000 feet it was colder than a witch's tip. And I got back, I looked to try to find where he might be. Couldn't find anything. But apparently, there was some people in boats out there, fishing boats, I guess, fairly large ones, and they picked him up. But he was already in deep hypothermia, and they couldn't bring him out of it. So he didn't die a pleasant death. And I had to take him back home.
Mm.
He was the only son. He had just finished 4 years in college, just before we went into the Air Corps in December of 41. And they had bought him a new 39 Chevy Coupe, which he had with him. So I had to take him home with a train. It was a rough assignment. They had gave him a military burial, and I was there with his parents. He was the only child. His mother was on my left, and father was on the right. And of course they did the normal military burial where they fired I think it was, they had 6 riflemen there that fired a correct number of volleys, and it seemed like it took forever. And every time they would shoot a volley, his mother would jerk like that. We kept in touch with them as long as they lived. And one of the places that we went after we left California was going to Suffrage Field. No, it wasn't Suffrage, it was Mitchell Field out on Long Island. And we stopped by their place because they lived Watertown, New York, which was pretty much on the way to where we were going at Mitchell Field. And it was snowing. It was like a blizzard, blowing the snow sideways. And there was big drifts of snow. And the ground was frozen so hard I couldn't imagine how the hell they could dig a grave for him, but they did. And it was snowing when we went into the chapel, and we followed them out to the cemetery, and it was still snowing when we got there. The burial car pulled up next to the grave site there. And all of a sudden, the sky just opened up. And it wasn't snowing at all when it was laid to rest. It was all finished and they had left. We were in close behind them, but as soon as we left there, it started snowing again. And it never stopped all the time I was there. And I couldn't stay very long. I had the train schedule. I had to go from New York, I had to go to Chicago and then come back to Watertown, New York, which was closer to Mitchell Field than it was Chicago, and then back the same way. He was one of the nicest people you could ever hope to meet. It was kind of hard to imagine him being a fighter pilot because he was I forget what we called him, Gentle Nelly or something like that.